All right, aloha Hawaii. Thank you so much for watching Lucy's Paradise podcast. Today we have Sean Ambriz. Do you want to start off by saying a little bit about kind of what inspired you to enlist in the military and a little bit of like how you grew up?
Yeah, I'm from Los Angeles, California. Um, Pretty easy childhood. Typical average. Parents were divorced when I was younger. Was really raised by my grandmother. Quiet, shy kid. Didn't really go out and party. I've never drank before in my life. I just tried to kind of keep to myself and do what I was told. And then my high school sweetheart is why I joined. Um, she was a year ahead of me, and she was like, what's your 5-year plan? And I really didn't have a 5-day plan.
Oh
After my
wow.
brother left for college, I wasn't really sure what to do with myself. And I've always had an interest in the military because my grandfather served. And then I just, was like, yeah, I'll join, and did it for her. Probably the best immature decision I made. And then she broke up with me the day I signed the contract and was stuck. So, um,
What?
yeah, yeah.
Wow.
But like I said, it's the best immature decision I made because it landed to me where I'm at now in life. So, um, but yeah, that's just a little rundown of my background.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So like, but did you have like a kind of a moment in your career where you're like, okay, yeah, this is I'm gonna try to take this as far as I can?
As far as like a 20-year career kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, no, I mean, I don't remember when the pivotal point was. I mean, I wanted to do my 5 years, get out, go back to LA, do LAPD. And I think the deployments really like pushed me over to be like, man, I enjoy this. Like I enjoyed deploying, being around the boys, just plain soldier, like actually going out in the field and doing what I signed up for. Um, and I always did those 2-year increment reenlistments. I'll just do 2 more years and see where I'm at. And then it just kind of became a thing where I got to the indefinite contract. And I was like, man, I'm already here. I might as well. And, because LAPD seemed to get further and further and not something I really wanted to do. And I was good at this job and I figured it's an easy paycheck. And then I looked at the horizon of that retirement and set myself up, long term. So,
That's good. Where are you at now?
Fort Carson.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, how many duty stations
I was
so
at
far in your career?
I was here at Carson, my first duty station for about 6 years. Hawaii for just under 4, I think. Washington State JBLM for 2, Missouri for 4, and then I've been here for about a year and a half or so.
What's your favorite so far?
I mean, Carson always had my heart because I mean, this is where I deployed out of. Although the duty station has changed a lot, Hawaii, I absolutely loved. I miss it. I just miss the lifestyle. I miss the soldiers that I had there. I had a really, really, really good time in Hawaii. Um, was not a fan of JBLM Army wise. Beautiful state, but I wasn't feeling the Army. And then surprisingly, I fell in love with Missouri. As far as like being a guy from LA, like I enjoyed at this stage of my life and my age, how peaceful and quiet. I had like 3 acres of land. I got to just kind of live in peace. Shoot guns in my backyard and have a little farm of animals. And I don't know, this is just really peaceful. So I kind of fell in love with that too.
Yeah, it is kind of cool to like not have certain rules, not as structured as like California and Hawaii is
Yes.
like that too. It's super strict. So, I know a lot of people that like Missouri for those reasons.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
not as pretty as Hawaii, but
No, of course.
so what advice would you give somebody who's like kind of it maybe in that same position that you were in, or like kind of getting that pressure to have a 5-year plan, maybe from someone they care about, and they're thinking of the military as an option. Like, do you have any advice for like that person that's like in your shoes?
That's getting ready to join kind of thing.
Yeah, that's like thinking about joining.
I mean, I think everyone should serve in some capacity. You don't need to serve some combat MOS, find something you like, gain some type of skill from the military, do a small contract, see if you like it, um, get the free education. I know everyone joins for different reasons, but I just think at at a young age, everyone should want to figure out their life, and along the way, the military is going to teach you how to tie your boots, how to shave. It's going to teach you basic discipline, things that I think set us apart than our peers at our age who just want to go to college and go to frat parties and stuff.
Yeah.
We still party in the barracks. We still do all those things in the military. It's just that I think that we get exposed to just life lessons sooner and faster than our civilian counterparts do at that age. And so I think give it a try, like join, like I said, do a couple years, see if you like it. And if you don't, like, there's nothing wrong with not doing 20. Like, do your 5 years and get out, or whatever it is. Like, you still serve, admirably, got your honorable discharge. You still served your country. So, yeah, I think that I would just say give it a shot for sure.
That's great advice. Yeah, I kind of tell people like it's not really for everybody, but there's no cookie cutter like
Yeah,
officer or soldier, so it makes it really hard to, someone might find a job that just fits them perfectly and just go from there.
yeah.
So I know that you've held a lot of like really important roles in the military. What do you think is like the most challenging role that you've served?
Platoon sergeant was hard, but that was, I think, more my environment in JBLM. Uh, I mean, every job has its difficulties. Platoon sergeant was hard because I was a newly promoted sergeant first class, and it was that true separation between junior and senior NCO and not doing my squad leaders' jobs. And I really had to take a step back and learn how the organizational, how senior strategic level leaders think. And I wasn't. It's not that I wasn't prepared for it, but I wasn't. My maturity level wasn't there, and I just didn't see the bigger picture. So that was hard, but it was a good lessons learned. Being a first sergeant was difficult as well, but that was the best job. First sergeant and squad leader were like, obviously the funnest job, just being with soldiers. But yeah, I guess if I had to choose, I guess it'd be platoon sergeant.
Okay, do you think like there's like is that the most stressful as well, or just most challenging?
I guess most challenging because you got to figure, like, you're leaving the junior NCO rank, trying to figure out how the senior world works, trying to keep up with all these other seniors that have years on you, but you're supposed to be at the same level of thinking capacity as them. You got some cheesy butter bar kid that you have to teach along the way and learn how to talk to him or her and paint the commander's intent and in state to this guy, and as well as taking care of and changing the diapers of the other 43 soldiers. And you're stuck in the middle as an advisor, because if you look at it like as a platoon sergeant, that's the first time and really the only rank that you're no longer a leader. You're a team leader, you're a squad leader. It's not a platoon sergeant leader. It's a platoon sergeant. There's a reason why we took the leader out of the name, and why you're shoved into this advisor role and learning how to take a step back. And for people like me that, boots on ground, kicking in doors, chilling with the boys in the field, that's a hard reality to accept. No longer being a quote unquote leader. And so, yeah, I think that's probably the most challenging, I think, for a lot of people.
Yeah, that would sound really. I guess also kind of like leaving. You're kind of like stepping aside from your peers too, and now you have to like
Yeah.
approach everything differently. What does it mean to you? Let's see. Hold on. I don't like that question. Okay, actually, let's go into Ghost of the Valley. So you wrote a book called Ghost of the Valley. I have it actually right here. I
Mm-hmm.
really love this book. I've read it like multiple times.
Oh, thank you.
It's a really powerful and personal journey for you. What kind of like inspired you to write that?
When I got to Fort Leonard Wood in 2019, it was the first time I didn't have soldiers. Wasn't I just got on my platoon sergeant job, and since I pinned stripes in my chest, it was the first time that I wasn't receiving late night phone calls, drunk texts from soldiers and need rides, like none of that stuff. It was just me as an instructor by myself. And I found out that your PTSD will evolve to the situation you're in. So, I had so much time on my hands to myself on the weekends and not having to go out to do these field exercises and stuff. And so because I had all this time on my hands, I was going through doors I had not gone through in a long time, because when I got back from Afghanistan, it was just, it was nonstop. I served as a squad leader, platoon sergeant, SRT. I was always busy with soldiers, PCSing, going to the field, whatever, that I kind of suppressed a lot of things that, not on purpose, it's just the op tempo of life and the Army. It kind of kept all that
Right.
stuff locked up. And then as I sat in Missouri and I really didn't have anyone or whatever, and I was just going to instruct, then coming home, I was just kind of reliving, rethinking a lot of things. And I'd done group therapy, regular therapy. I'd done everything you could think of. And then one of my mentors is like, just write it down, like chronologically, just kind of like, for yourself, like a diary, a journal, whatever you want to call it, but just replay everything. And so that's kind of what I did. It wasn't set out to like write a book at all. I just kind of wrote it, and I made chapters like the first phase of my life before the Army. I tried to remember as everything as I possibly could. And then I don't even remember how the conversation happened, but I talked to a mentor and he picked it up and he was like, man, this is really good. And I had multiple people in my past be like, yo, you should write a book, after the deployment stuff happened, just because it was a very abnormal situation as an MP to be put into a medic or designated squad marksman role. And I always kind of took it as a compliment, but I never really wanted to be vulnerable to like put my shit out there for everyone to like kind of dig. But after they picked up and read it, they were like, this is like really good. And after some persuasion, I kind of had different ways of like attacking it. I wanted, most like the movies and books and all this other things are on special operations. That's mainly who you hear. You never hear the regular soldier that works day in day out in these fobs, going out on these missions. You only hear the cool, sexy stories that get put into movies. But there are a plethora, millions of us soldiers that served in both Iraq and Afghanistan that the voices never really got heard. And I think that it's not about making a book. It's not about making a movie. It's about connecting from the veteran community to the civilian populace. If we can branch us to them and make them understand what we went through, it helps future generations. It helps junior soldiers when senior leaders want to step up and say, this is what I experienced, so that the future generations don't have to then replay the same mistakes that we had. And so it was supposed to be a chain connection between like I said, the civilian populace and us veterans, the future soldiers coming in, and then guys like me who had been there, done that maybe never talked about their experiences. And maybe if I do, they will too. And then ultimately, I didn't want to make any money off of someone's death. With my LT dying and a lot of other people that are in this book who had sacrifices, I didn't want to make a dollar kind of thing off of someone else's sacrifices. So the proceeds go to a foundation that was built for my lieutenant partner who got killed. And then, like I said, it puts the MPs on the map. It puts my LT's name out there, so his story never dies. And then there's, one of my last chapter in the book is just nothing but resources, for veterans in case they pick up the book, don't have internet, phone, whatever. There's phone numbers, there's everything in there. And then at the very, very back, I get to at least do a handshake to every soldier that has served under me, and I put their name all on the back and try to remember them as well. So
Yeah, that's awesome. So without giving listeners without giving away like what the book is about, like so we can expect like what is your like synopsis of what's in there besides what you're saying, the link with civilian and military populace?
it's just my experiences from Afghanistan, just an average brown dude from LA, and where I came from and where I'm at now. And chapter 5 and 8 are the big battles. That's mainly what it focuses it on. But I try to talk teamwork and leadership. And chapter 5 being the first big battle, we fought in the prelude to the deadliest battle in the war. They made the movie off of it, The Outpost, that came out, and that was our unit. And essentially, me as a private, as a medic, and everything I experienced in that battle, I watched my leaders for the first time in like combat, like be a leader in combat, and then essentially how that battle carried over a year and some change over on my second deployment when I was a sergeant and we found ourselves completely surrounded. It was 16 of us Americans and then an estimated 180 enemy fighters that got within 8 feet of us.
Dang.
So it was how do I take things that I learned as a private in this first big battle, and then as a leader now, lead my soldiers into combat based off what I saw from my leaders back then. So and then essentially the last chapter is just more or less the transition, dealing with PTSD and just being open about it, kind of thing.
How do you like deal with it every day now?
I have my days. Like I had a couple yesterday. I was just thinking about it a lot. I had a dream about one of the kids I worked on as a medic, and then I kind of thought about it all day. Some days are easier than others. You know, I was very open when I came back from my first deployment, and I've always talked about it. I try to teach my soldiers. I tell them the stories. I wrote the book. I've done hundreds of podcasts. I've been invited by West Point to talk to their class. I do that because yes, it helps pass information and experience and historical stuff that we were a part of. But it's also therapeutic for me. And the more I talk about it, the easier it kind of got over the years. So yeah, I mean, I still deal with it, but yeah, some days are just harder than others.
So it sounds like, yeah, like at first you kind of just used it as like your own type of therapy, and then coming out with a book, you kind of just stumbled upon that idea.
Yeah, pretty much.
What do you see now, like for your career, and like do you have any goals to like write any other type of books? Maybe something
No,
that maybe you could make money off of, or
no, I think that was it for me. I mean that was the pinnacle of my life, and yeah, I think I put that all out there. There's not really much more to say. I got to check that block, say I'm an author, but it's yeah, I'm not a big reader, not a big writer, but I'm glad to say that I did it. I'm more than just a soldier. So
right, right. Were there like were those particular chapters 5 and 8 that you were discussing? Were those kind of like the harder ones to write about?
yeah, but like I said, I've been talking to soldiers about those battles for some time that I'm kind of just used to it by now.
So after serving, and being deployed, how do you handle life outside of the military? I mean, did you have like a break in, or have you been in the military this whole time?
Yeah, I've been active. I
Oh,
just
you've
hit
been active
17
this whole time.
years.
Damn.
Yeah, I just hit 17 years last 2 weeks ago now. So um, I got 3 years left. So yeah, as
Are
far
you
as
just
like break, haven't really had one. So
are you just trying to? Are you gonna do like try to hit 20 and retire?
yeah, so they actually put me in for medical discharge right now, but they're trying to do a coad, which allows me to continue until I hit my 20. But I'll just be labeled as a medical discharge until I get out. So we're waiting to hear if that'll get approved or not.
Oh, okay. Well, good luck.
Yeah,
Hopefully, I don't know. Is that is that good? Because that means
yeah,
you don't have to do the whole VA thing, right?
I do it while I'm in, so that's actually better. I
Right.
don't have to do it when I get out, so it's actually beneficial for me. So
Oh, okay, that's good.
yeah, we'll
Any
see.
any plans once you get out? Like any?
No, I need to talk to my wife. I said that this year we need to like start looking at all the different states and then minimize them down onto a list, and then once we kind of get our top three, start looking at jobs, and then for the remaining 2 years, I'll really hone in on like the resume building, all that stuff that I should do to prepare for my next phase in life.
Okay. Yeah, because I think, yeah, transitioning out of the military is definitely weird, and like a whole. It's just weird to not have like something to do at 6 a.m. Like and for me that was strange. Like I don't have anywhere to be, so it's like I can just like control my own. Like it's almost like I forgot how to live like that. Or like
Yeah,
now I gotta control my own thing. But now I just enjoy like my mornings because I never really had that, right? Like the first thing you're doing is like fucking running around Schofield, which is like not the funnest thing to do first thing in the morning. So yeah, life is just, I'm super happy to be out. And with everything going on in the world, I'm really glad that I'm kind of like happy to be out because I'm like kind of fearful about like what the heck is going on in the world. Like, does that ever like scare you at all?
Yeah, I mean, with Ukraine and all this other stuff, I mean, you just never know what's going to pop off in an instant. Trying to think about it because obviously there's things that just aren't in your control.
Right,
But yeah, I mean, it is nervous to think about that next war or whatever it may be.
right. What do you think like for your mental and your physical health? Like, what are your routines with that? Because I
Gym.
know you've had like a shit ton of injuries, right?
Yeah, I've had 43 procedures. I just try to get to the gym. I don't need to max out PRs. I don't need to do anything crazy. I need to move around. Even if that means I just go to the gym and I don't feel like lifting, then I'm just ride the bike for 45 minutes. Like I got to do something to expel some of that energy and frustration or anxiety or whatever the case may be. And I have other hobbies like I draw and stuff like that. But anyone who has some form of PTSD, which I think everyone does, we've all kind of got some type of trauma. You got to find a hobby. So
Do you have any other hobbies besides drawing?
no, not really. I mean, just hang out with the family or take my dogs to the park or something. But no, I mean, I've tried other things. When I was in Hawaii, I was big into cichlid fish, and I like got this huge fish tank, and I like go around to certain like Hawaiians that were importing them from like Taiwan for me, and like it was cool to like learn about the fish. I don't know, it was like a weird hobby that I like picked up in Hawaii. And then I haven't done it since then, but I've just tried different like little things.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird hobbies you can pick up in Hawaii. People are like doing a lot of weird shit out here, but it's really fun. Yeah, I was like night fishing with my neighbor for a while, and that
That's
was
dope.
pretty fun. Yeah, it was pretty fun. Um, so you're not looking forward to anything getting out besides condensing what states you kind of want to live in. Do you have any like top kind of for you?
No, I told my wife that since she followed me in my career
Mm,
um, and moved her around, she gets to decide where we retire. So that's that was our deal.
that sounds fair.
Yeah, I dragged her around for all these states and deployments and field exercises and late nights, and so she gets to decide where we, relax the rest of our life. So
Yeah, I think relationships in the military are hard. Like I always tell people like it almost takes a different breed of person to like date or be married to somebody in the military.
yeah, it does.
Yeah, like someone with like crazy loyalty and just like you said, like willing to follow you around to each state every 3 years or whatever it may be. Um, let me see here. Oh, let's talk about the special reaction team since we both kind of had experience with that, but it was later years. I guess you were like in charge of it.
I
Um,
was on Fort Carson's team in 2010 for like 4 or 5 months, and then I was in charge of the Hawaii team for like a year and a half or something like that.
how did those two differ?
Well, I was only on the Carson team for 4 or 5 months, so it wasn't. I didn't have a lot of experience, but my team at Carson, we were the first one to do a live raid on a military installation in decades. I mean, I don't even know how long. There was a guy that came here to Fort Carson. He was a civilian. He had robbed a couple places off post, and then he was staying at some pregnant specialist in her quarters on post, and
They're
he
always staying with a pregnant specialist. They're
he
always in the
came.
barracks or something.
Well, no, she was. I don't know if she was married. I don't know. I don't remember,
Oh my
but
god.
all I know is he was staying at this house, and he came to the Burger King on post on Carson and shot the manager in the
Holy
shoulder and
shit.
like stole for like $400 or something. And so then they put out like a $5,000 reward for information. CID did. We got the information, and then FBI came in one day and we're like, we're gonna go take this guy down. So like our SRT got activated, and we actually like raided the house and like took him down. It was quick and easy, but it could have been very dangerous. He was in the house with one of his buddies and a 3-year-old girl, and he was going for the AK-47 that was next to her. And the guys that were making entries, as soon as they kicked the door and saw the little girl, and they ate the flashbang, and still got inside before he could actually reach the weapon, and any shots were fired. So, it
Wow.
was a good, yeah, it was a good raid on
A
our
good
part.
result. Yeah, that's great. But scary. Yeah.
Sure, yeah. But yeah, those are the differences.
What what kind of got you interested in the special reaction team?
Um, I got it. So I didn't really know anything about it. It was after my first deployment. Me and my buddy, we tried out for the warfighter team, competed in the warfighter, and then the sergeant major offered us. Well, he said, because we had just come off the deployment, did the warfighter. He was like, "I'm gonna put you on SRT." Didn't know what it was really. It was cool. They sent me to school, and then he offered us Ranger School, but then one of our sister companies was deploying, which is why I was only on SRT for 4 or 5 months, because then I waived my dwell time and I wanted to go back to Afghanistan. So I left SRT to go with that sister company, and then I had to give up my Ranger slot because it was while we were
Yeah.
deployed. So it was either, and Sergeant Major gave me that option because we volunteered for the deployment. He was like, "Do you want to deploy or do you want to go to Ranger School?" And I was like, "I'm not about to give up a deployment and then break my fucking shin at Ranger or get peered out because
Right.
I'm an RP and then lose out on both the tab and the deployment." So I just sacrificed Ranger School for it.
Dang. So you've never done Ranger School?
No, no, I never. That was the only opportunity that ever really presented itself to me, and never came back because the Sergeant Major left at that point. Afterwards. So
Um,
yeah, it is what it is.
what do you think is like one of the most memorable times in the military
Fuck.
besides like the bad stuff, like the good stuff?
I mean, I just have so many. Like literally, you can name any unit, and I could think of a memory. Um, fuck. Do you have like a specific subject or thing you're looking for?
Um, I don't know, maybe for me, when I look back and I think um for me, I remember like when I first got to Hawaii, I got introduced to my team leader and like the people that would be on my team. I was like, all right, cool. And then they were like, yeah, like meet us tonight or whatever, and we're gonna like study and go over some stuff that you should know. I said, okay. So I go over to I even forget like whose room we're at, like somebody's room, and they like created a game, but it was like a drinking game of like all the stuff that we should know like for our job and shit. And I was like, this is kind of like funny, and like, but it's like you guys are still kind of studying, so like it's kind of hilarious. And yeah, they were like, well, we need to initiate you, and you need to like chug this beer, and like you're on the team. And I was like, oh shit. So it was funny. They were just kidding, and but it was I just think about that kind of stuff, like fun times in the barracks. We would like make food and shit like that you kind of forget you're in the military.
I mean, I think my initiation, I put it in a book, but my initiation was when I got here to Carson. They were like, "Oh, we're having like a platoon camping trip this weekend." It's my first weekend here at Carson, and they dropped me a pin for where it was. I didn't know where I was going, so I followed it, and there was like a sign, obviously says "Do not enter," but I fucking blew by it, and like 10 feet past the sign, like some guys in some ghillie suits popped out. It was like 10th SF, and they were guarding. They sent me to fucking NORAD, which is like the secret facility that holds our nukes,
Oh
and
shit.
and where the president goes when there's a nuke, or any type of nuclear warfare on the West Coast. He goes inside the mountain, and so I just was driving into this fucking secret facility, and then of course there was no fucking camping trip, and they were all laughing.
They
Like,
were messing with you. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So
Did you get them back or no?
no, and I was a dumb fucking private. So
That's a good one. I like that. I really like that one. So you've actually really inspired me because I've been working on a book. I'm working on a book about. I mean, obviously I never deployed, but I'm basically working on a book about my experience in the military, and yeah, I'm sure I'll be finished with it soon. I just experienced a lot of like different things, like and I think I talked to you about it before offline, but I've just dealt with a lot of like weird stuff in terms of like EO and like feeling like targeted by leaders and stuff like that. Like, do you have any advice for soldiers in the military that are like just trying to like put their head down and do 20 years?
Um, in regards to what, like
Just like
worrying about toxic leaders and stuff like that, or
yeah,
what do you
toxic leaders and just you know, at least for me, my own experience, like right before I was getting out, I was seeing a lot of like people I knew from to my left and right, like getting into these like fake investigations and shit that like were completely made up. You know, maybe like someone was mad about a breakup or something stupid, and it was really just like kind of getting me paranoid about
Yeah,
what the heck was going on in the military.
because people weaponize these systems. They weaponize
Right.
sharp yo, and they don't get their way or they don't like someone, and they could just easily just throw someone under the bus and ruin their lives. And I mean, I get it, man, but you know, I even tell like younger soldiers, like you just got to remember everything in this fucking life is temporary. The uniform, the career, the unit, the leader above you, everything is fucking temporary. NTC is not forever. Like people get so stuck in the moment and they're just like, fuck, I hate my life, this sucks, but there's going to be an end point at, um and don't get so caught up in the leader that you have above you that you don't like or he's an asshole. Obviously you want to do A, B, and C, try to confront the leader, have that behind the door closed conversations, things like that.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter. And I just use that as an example, toxic leader, but it could be many things. But like I said, like I tell younger soldiers, it's gonna end at some point. It will come to an end. Um, Good and bad. Earn that T-shirt, learn from that experience, and move on. And learn what to do, what not to do, and mold yourself. Like you cannot go through 20 years having amazing leaders above you the whole way through, fucking scoring expert every single shot. Like it's never going to be fucking perfect. Like you're going to
Right.
need to go through some terrible fucking lows, and you're going to need to get kicked on the fucking ground and kicked in the teeth a couple times. But that's okay because that will mold you to be a better leader because you got so many fucking t-shirts in your closet of experience as opposed to some guy that was just fucking trying to scapegoat through 20 years and do the bare fucking minimum because he or she was scared to actually get out and go do something. And that's down, like I tell that to like junior leaders, like fucking volunteer for everything, like volunteer your team. Like I don't care if it's to go pick up fucking trash and do a police call and it's just you and your two soldiers that get to go do it for the entire platoon. You three are going to do it together, and while you're out there you're bullshit, you're getting to know your soldiers. Like you know, no one wakes up and like wants to go to fucking NTC and is excited for it, but it's not until after NTC is done when you get back those younger soldiers who may not have deployed, that may like be a big experience for them, and they'll talk about NTC like, remember that fucking time at NTC, like it was shit and rain on us and this happened. But they're going to remember those experiences. You don't think about it in that moment, but again, it's going to come to an end, and when it does, you'll have that experience, you'll have that knowledge. And that's the best advice I can give someone is just fucking
Yeah, I
keep.
like that. I like the thought process of that. It's just temporary. That's definitely good advice. I wish you were my leader at that time because it would have I would have like probably been more positive about it. But I also had like a million things going on in my life at the time, so it just also didn't help that I had like a leader that was making my life difficult also. But that actually made me think of something. Like now that you did deploy and you had all those experiences, do you look at those trainings differently, or did you come back and look at those trainings differently, like NTC and stuff like that?
No, I mean, I knew that they helped. I didn't look at them differently, like they were worthless. I mean, there's times obviously in training, like, man, this is dumb. Like, I'm not getting anything out of it, whatever. But like, you also know that like when you come back from a deployment, you recognize the seriousness of that training, or I should have paid more attention, or we should have done this a little bit better. Um, you know, because I've also seen the ass end of it where, there's not a good result from a combat situation. And then you're like, fuck, like, and you don't want that as a leader. You don't want to be like, I should have ran my guys through this more. Um, you want to train your guys as the best of your ability so that that never really crosses your mind.
Yeah, definitely. Damn, I just thought of a question I was gonna ask you. Oh yeah. So well in writing my book, I there's like a lot of different things I've researched, and one of the things I research is kind of like a person's inspiration or a person's like reason for joining the military, and you know like kind of what drives them through a military career. Um, Mine has always been like my love of my country. Um, I was gonna ask like kind of like what do you think yours is, because it sounds like that's kind of like similar.
Yeah, I mean, but you got to remember, like I said, I joined immature decision for a girl. That didn't mean that I didn't wasn't a proud American. Like I said, my grandfather served. I used to play soldier in the backyard. Like I dug a foxhole in my grandma's backyard. Me and my cousins would like play soldier all the time. I'd have his equipment that he had, and I'd run around with it. So like it was there. Like I wanted to, you know, I think the initial push of it was for a girl. But I don't, you know, if you look at this generation, because there's no war going on, a lot of the kids they're not joining for a war. There's nothing, you know, like a lot of them are just joining for college or get away from another bad situation. That's fine. You don't need to have some patriotic answer as to why you joined, but it's why did you stay in? Why did you continue? That your answer could be very, very much different as opposed to, you know, why I initially joined. Because when you initially join, you're just a dumbass 18-year-old kid doesn't know anything yet. But as you start to mold into the person you are and you mature and you're an adult, the question is, why did you stay in the military? Why did you do 20? Why did you do 5? And then your answer will be very different as opposed to the initial why I decided to serve. And I think you're going to notice a big difference between the two answers itself.
Yeah, do you think like your answer like changed, kind of like evolved, like especially after
I think it
being
was more
deployed?
patriotic, you know, obviously because of the deployments and stuff. I stayed because I saw um, the war opened my eyes to a lot. You know, when you're 18, when I deployed, both my deployments, I was between 18 and 20, 22, 21, 22. Um, it's pretty crazy what a man can do to another man. And we see that, and you see the reality of how cruel and gruesome and the pure carnage that war brings, and what's it really out there in the world outside of our United States comfort bubble.
Yeah.
Um, it opens your eyes, and that, you know, then yes, my answer changed to I want to keep serving because of the things that I saw. Um, and so that it doesn't happen in the future. And you know, and I watched a lot of my combat veteran friends do their time and get the fuck out. Like the war changed them so much, and then it's like, but if all of us got out, who's going to teach the next generation? Not that I'm the fucking savior, but I know I have a piece of that
Yeah,
pie.
yeah,
You
totally. Are you like worried at all for like like later generations? Like, because you know, I know they've talked about like, should we do some sort of like draft thing and this and that, and people made the joke that like there'd be TikTokers out there,
yeah.
do you kind of worry about that? Like,
Um, yes and no.
or like,
Uh,
do you see that with like younger soldiers?
yes, there are some indisciplines with soldiers that worry me. Um, Social media gives everyone a platform that not everyone should have, that gives them a voice that they probably shouldn't voice too loud. Um, I think every generation has its dumbasses. And I think the generation before this one, um, we had our share of dumbasses, and the Vietnam era had their share of dumbasses, but they didn't have social media to put it out there to see it. And I just don't think you
Right. Yeah.
saw a lot of it. Um,
Right. Right. It was
but
kind
you
of
know,
like just talked about like this happened and
yeah, and you see it on these videos as you just scroll hundreds of videos. You can see just people being stupid, and you think that that's everyone because you just
right.
see it nonstop. Very few. If you watch 100 videos on Instagram, how many of them are positive of one person helping another? It's very few and very outnumbered to the negative. but that doesn't mean that that's everything that's out there. There's plenty of good people and there's good leaders. And does it concern me? Yes, but is the next war is going to be a peer-to-peer fight. It is not going to be guerrilla warfare that I thought. And when I look at these young kids here at Carson, I was at a BLC graduation last week, and I was just looking at these 18-year-old kids with their blue cords, these young infantrymen, and I did feel a sense of pride that we'll be okay. Like when shit hits the fan, we are well trained. We put a lot of funding into our defense, and in the end of the day, like just us as Americans, like it's just I think it's just in our blood. I'm not too concerned that TikTokers are gonna fucking save us in World War III or some shit, but I mean, I don't know. There is
Maybe will. Maybe they'll hack something and then we'll just win. Like what the heck?
There's room to be concerned. But that's just a small percentage. I know that at the end of the day, there are plenty of Americans that are willing to go and kick that door and raise their hand and if need be, sacrifice their life so that we could have all of our tomorrows.
Okay, good. I'm not gonna be worried then, since you're not worried. So before we go, do you want to shout out where people can get your book?
They could get on Amazon, Nook, Kindle, and then Audible. Audible is a little different. My publisher hired a guy to read the book on Audible, and then if you read the book, like the hard copy, there's a bunch of italicized things throughout the book, and that's either I'm talking to someone in the book, or is it internal thought to myself, like what I'm thinking in that moment. So I actually went to a recording studio and recorded all those lines. So as he's reading the book, you'll hear my voice interject as I talk to someone or I'm talking to myself. So it's kind of like dual narrated in a way. So it's a little different.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. They couldn't get you to read the whole thing? That would have been cool.
I didn't want to.
Okay.
Yeah, but I figured it'd be better anyways to have someone else read it, and then a second voice comes in and you actually hear it. So as opposed to me just reading the entire thing.
Okay. That's pretty cool though. You were still a part of it. Actually, I can imagine like reading the book would probably kind of be difficult too, because it's not like the easiest topic. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys. Please like and subscribe, and thanks for watching Lucy's Paradise Podcast. Aloha.
Aloha.
Yeah.